All right, everybody, welcome to the Apollo and Sales Pipeline Gurus 2026 Outbound Summit. Welcome. We are going to get started in just a few minutes, so if you could please start getting active in the chat, let us know where you're calling in from, what city, what country, what part of the world, what your role is. With me, I've got Michael Rousey and Jason DeLeon from Apollo. And these guys are going to be, part of the panel today. We're going to be talking about all things prospecting, cold email, cold calling, selling. Jason is a GTM engineer at Apollo, and Michael is the partnerships manager. If you guys want to take a minute just to introduce yourself and maybe talk a little bit about what you'll be discussing today. Jason.
Awesome. Yeah, nice to meet everybody. Jason, I'm a go-to-market engineer here at Apollo. I help teams connect their platforms together, integrate all things AI and go-to-market. Been in the space for the last 10 years, and so excited to talk about what's going on in AI and go-to-market these days.
Good stuff. And hey guys, really appreciate everyone joining. My name is Michael Rouse. I'm based here in Denver, Colorado. I've been in B2B sales for about 15 years now. I've been specifically in the outbound sales and marketing space for about 6 years. Been with Apollo for about 15 months. Actually started here doing agency type services, so setting up outbound strategies with folks that were newly deployed on Apollo. And then from maybe some of the contributions for myself here today. I've run well over 1,000 discovery calls in sales journeys, closed over 200 actual services packages around outbound sales and marketing. So I have my hands involved in quite a lot of different industries, different strategies, and really excited about what Apollo is doing and pushing the edge on, AI automations and an end-to-end platform that can really be an all-in-one kind of solution that is, I think, pulling together something that was pretty balkanized in my experience up to a year and a half ago since joining Apollo. But Mark, appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. When we met and talked about this, what was it last year now at the first annual user conference that Apollo had at Next, I was really excited for this. So yeah, it's been months in the making, and we finally made it happen, which is good. And for those of you that don't know me, I'm Mark Marcelletti, founder and CEO of a Apollo certified partner and consulting company called Sales Pipeline Gurus. And I've been in this space since 2013, and my previous business that I exited from was a outsourced BDR as a service company. So we used Apollo and all the tools out there to book meetings for companies. So that was something that I really got my feet wet in, was this B2B prospecting space. And so I ended up transitioning from working with companies like HubSpot and Keep and Salesforce and even ZoomInfo to now exclusively partnering with Apollo. And we've tested over $3 million over the last 8 years to find what works and what doesn't work when it comes to cold outreach. And so I think I've made all the mistakes, so I can tell you what not to do. And that's some of what we're going to be talking about today. So appreciate you joining. And yeah, let's dive in. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go through the first session here. So you guys should be able to see my screen now. The new email deliverability standard. Is that pulling up for you? Can we get some comments in the chat? Can you see the screen coming up for everyone? Good. All right, awesome. So yeah, Jason and I are going to be talking about email deliverability, right? This is probably the main reason why a lot of you are joining, is because emails are not getting into the inbox anymore. It's getting harder and harder every single day to get emails delivered. We've got AI-powered spam filters, we've got a regressive blocking, this sort of spray and pray method that we've all done, is not working anymore. We need to start leveraging signals and infrastructure first, and prioritizing like long-term deliverability and strategy over short-term volume. So we're going to be talking about 4 different topics today over the next couple of hours. Definitely come in and out as you need. We'll be here, but we're going to have 3 or 4 30-minute sessions. And at the end, for about 5 or 10 minutes, we'll be leaving time to do some Q&A for anything that you have. But you don't have to wait. You can drop your Q&A in the chat. There is a Q&A section. And so if you have questions that come up during this and they're relevant, we will be addressing those. So first thing we're going to be talking about is the fortress, which is the infrastructure. The goal is within this modern outbound operating system that we are going to secure 100% deliverability, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about how to do during this session. And so phase one, before you send any emails, we need to have some strategic alignment, right? We need to know how big is your total addressable market? What are your prospecting and your sales goals given the size of that TAM? And what KPIs are we going to be targeting, right? Before we start doing any outreach, we need to begin with the end in mind. So what is that going to be? Are we going for meetings? Are we going for, link clicks and visiting the website, to something like maybe getting just engagement, getting people to qualify for interest, right? These are all different strategies that we will use that will have different engagement rates and different approaches. And so it sounds simple, but just failing to define your number one KPI up front could result in failure, or at least a lack of results. So the way that you're going to calculate your TAM and infrastructure needs is you're going to look at basically starting with Apollo. You go into Apollo, you look at applying all your persona and your company filters. You want to be, conservative when you do this. You don't want to be adding anybody and everybody that works at a company that might be interested, right? We want to be selective. So only emailing people who we know would be interested because this is a topic that's relevant to their role or their responsibility, or they get paid to make sure that it's successful. If this person could reasonably look at your email and say, this isn't relevant to me, I'm going to unsubscribe or delete or mark it as spam, probably best to not email that person. So I like to take a hell yes or a hell no approach. So small TAM, this is going to require high personalization, lower volume, and exceptional care per contact. Typically, this is going to be, hundreds or thousands of companies, the low thousands. And so, you can think of this a lot as enterprise, right? So infrastructure can be lean and pristine, right? We're not going to have too many emails that we're sending. It's going to be more personalized. Whereas with a large TAM, this could be hundreds of thousands or millions of companies and people. And we're going to use more of a programmatic approach to personalization, where we'll need like a robust infrastructure, and we're going to need to touch the entire market quarterly to identify who are the hand raisers and people interested. And then we'll look at infrastructure math. So how many people are there? What is the reasonable time frame? And that's what we need. We need to calculate and run a math experiment to ultimately figure out what the strategy is going to be before we start. Jason, any thoughts here on calculating TAM or infrastructure?
Yeah, just overall, Apollo has launched a lot of new tools over the last year that might be overwhelming. We have a very specific piece in the platform. The AI Content Center is the starting point for all teams. And this is going to give everybody a head start, actually defining to the AI what you do, who you serve, how you help them, defining those pain points that you're able to solve. That immediately informs our AI so that you're able to go into the AI assistant in Apollo and have it build that initial TAM list for you. Let it take some clicks off your hands, build that initial list. And a lot of times you're going to notice that you've saved a lot of filtering and initial clicking around in Apollo. And we've tried to make that a lot easier for you. And that AI Content Center is going to be your starting point.
Yep, absolutely. So that's calculating TAM and infrastructure needs. Next is something that is pretty unique that you probably haven't heard before. There are some experts in the space talking about this, but this is essentially going to be the infrastructure mode, the 3-set domain rotation. And so to start out, I want to explain what happens when you actually burn your domain or your email addresses. Typically, that's not the end of the world, right? In some catastrophic cases, you have to replace everything. But usually what happens is you just put those domains and those emails on a warming cycle for a couple of weeks to a couple of months, depending on how recent or how much abuse there was. And you can heal those domains back to health, right? That's obviously not the goal. We don't want that to happen, but sometimes things happen. Sales reps get a little bit too excited and email too many companies or too many contacts per company. And so to take a proactive approach and prevent that from happening and extend the life of your infrastructure for as long as possible, we implement this three-set domain rotation. And so we have set A, which is going to be a specific set of domains and email addresses that we're sending from the 1st to the 15th to our list. After that, we put it on a warming cycle for 2 weeks, almost like it was, had domain reputation issues, but it's not at this point. We're just preemptively keeping it on a warming cycle to heal it, to just keep it delivering healthy. Then we have set B, which is going to be 16th at the end of the month, different set of domains and email addresses. And then we're going to have a set C, which is going to be your backup. That's only for emergencies. If set A or B or both get burned and have deliverability issues, we're going to rotate in set C as a backup, to maintain business continuity, to ensure 100% uptime. And so that's what we do. That's how we set this up. It is a little bit complex and it's more expensive. It's time consuming to set this up and manually rotate it in once or twice a month, but it is worth it in the long run. This is why cold email has gotten a lot harder, because it's more complex. It's becoming a little bit more expensive, but it is still one of the cheapest channels for developing your business. You just have to make sure you're staying on top of the new trends and you're distributing your outreach across more assets.
Yeah. It's also pretty boring.
Yeah.
And it's also one of those things, you can kind of miss one thing or two, and then you just find yourself 2 weeks in wondering why a campaign is totally failing. And you're worried about all the variables, like the messaging, the ICP that you've got, are you doing everything right? And then it's just a minor technical issue, something like this for configuration. So
Yeah.
I'd say definitely lean on an expert if you don't have one in-house for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And a critical rule is to always warm up the new domains and the emails for a minimum of 2 weeks. 2 weeks is a non-negotiable before sending an email. Now, what this does is it just extends the life at which your infrastructure will last. Same thing with this, the 3 domain rotation set as well. So inbox matching is another hack that I love. So there are tools actually that make it really easy to set up email addresses and to match the provider. Apollo is actually one of those tools, which is why I love it and use it so much and recommend it to clients. And so essentially you can sign up for 3 different types of inboxes. You can sign up for Gmail, Google Workspace, you can sign up for Outlook 365, and you can sign up for Enterprise, which is basically an SMTP, or in Apollo, I think they call it IMAP, but it's like a custom infrastructure. And so what you want to do when you are cleaning your list through a tool like Zero Bounce, which integrates with Apollo, is that it tells you the mailbox provider. And so you can actually assign those mailbox types to the users that you have created inside of Apollo with the email addresses that have Gmail or Outlook or the SMTP. And that will actually increase your deliverability anywhere from 2 to 4x reply rates, because it builds instant technical trust with the people that you're sending from. And beyond this too, another reason why you want to use a tool like Apollo to set up your emails and your domains is because they help you set up all of the DMARC, the SPF, the DKIM, all the email deliverability language that you don't really need to understand, but just know that Apollo does, and they set that up and they handle all of that for you on the back end when you go and you set up your emails and your domains. So you're not messing with DNS records. You're not having to go through weeks of setup. Like, they do all that for you. You just have to purchase your assets through the platform, which are, at the market rate. If anything, a little bit less, depending on how much you're paying for credits. And so beyond that, we want to do what I call operating stealth, which is we want fingerprintless tracking. So we want authentication, right? Which is DMARC, SPF, DKIM. These are like 3 different identity verification protocols. So you can think of it like when you go to another country and you present your passport, it's verifying your identity. And so these are 3 different ways to verify your identity, making sure that the message that you sent came from you. It wasn't intercepted in transit, and the delivery courier has, the ability to deliver that message on your behalf, right? Those are essentially what those mean. And so we want to disable all tracking. So even though Apollo recommends it when you sign up, for best practices that we're learning about, is we're not recommending any open tracking, click tracking, custom tracking domains, or unsubscribed link tracking links, because all of these are fingerprints on your your domain, on your DNS records that are showing the email service providers like Google and Microsoft that you're sending cold email, and they tend to treat you differently when you do that. So your emails don't make it to the inbox as often as you want. So you lose a little bit of visibility into open rates, but you'll gain higher reply rates because you can't be fingerprinted that you're sending cold email. And so it's a much better, more secure way of doing it. Next is bounce tracking. So in Apollo, actually, you can track your bounces in their analytics tab. And so you want to just pay attention to this. Like if you are cleaning your email list through Zero Bounce or another tool like that, you're not going to have to worry about your bounce rate. You want to keep it under 3%. And if you're cleaning it through a tool, because just because it says verified in Apollo doesn't mean that it's deliverable. It still could bounce. That maybe was verified 90 days ago and that person's left the company. So you can never rely on any data provider, no matter how high quality they claim to be. You always have to do your own, email list hygiene to make sure that you're verifying that. And same thing with phone numbers too. You want to verify that the phone numbers that you're calling are verified, whether you do that with the technology or with the service. And then enable alerts if like you're getting spam blocks. And then if you get a few spam blocks or start seeing consistency around that, you probably just need to retire that domain and rotate in the backup set.
And one plug would be and we'll get into this later, but waterfall enrichment on Apollo and pretty much bring back through 100% of our lists before we run them through campaigns. And Jason, you can get into that more deeply, but yeah, wanted to throw that in there. It's definitely a solid fail safe there before you go live with any campaign.
Sure.
Yeah, a couple items in Apollo that'll help out just across the board. When you sign into Apollo, your home screen is going to display any warnings immediately right at your face. So if you've got any mailbox issues, if your bounce rate is higher than we expect, it's going to give you that opportunity to jump in there and fix that and swap your domain. And so we've instituted a lot of tools in Apollo to help you as best as possible. And just opening up your deliverability suite in Apollo as well is going to give you a eagle-eye view of what's going on with all your mailboxes all at one time.
Yep, absolutely. Let's see here. Let's do a quick poll. I want to see how many people we have using Apollo, like actually using Apollo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch a poll real quick. And this is going to show, are you using Apollo? Yes, using it daily. Yes, but barely scratching the surface. No, but thinking about it. And then no, using a competitor. So it looks like we've got about 46 responses so far. About half the group using it daily. About a third using it, but just barely scratching the surface. And another, handful of people that are thinking about it or not using it. So awesome. Yeah, this is super helpful. And so, like Michael mentioned, we have this waterfall sending strategy, right? So the goal is to waterfall the data enrichment, right? Because as great as Apollo is, they don't have data available on everybody. I know some even might not believe it, but no, they don't. And so there are some other data providers that they've partnered with that are trusted, that have high quality data, and they actually enable you to use Apollo credits to enrich your data providers, these other data providers through Apollo, just like Clay, just like some of the other waterfall enrichment providers out there. And so when I went to the Apollo Next Summit, this is one of the things that I was learning that, really well-known companies like Anthropic were really liking about Apollo is that this all-in-one go-to-market suite of products and even services now that are enabling you to be successful in your outreach. And so this is ultimately what it's going to take to enrich the entire total addressable market that you're going to be reaching out to. So we need to enrich all those records, and then we need to be a little bit patient, right? We're not going to be recommending that you take the typical strategy that we used to, which is that you email everybody on your list, like, a bunch of times until they unsubscribe, right? Where we continue to reply to the same message over and over again. So that is something that we're changing our mind on a little bit, is we're instead of using cold outreach as a tool to be impatient and try to get business like yesterday. We're treating it a little bit more like a long-term nurture strategy where we're, I would say as a best practice, sending emails to our entire total addressable market, even if that's, tens or hundreds of thousands of people quarterly, right? Because what you're going to see when you start doing this outreach to the right people with the right message is that you'll sure have some complainers and some people that are not interested that will unsubscribe, or some automatic responses from people that are no longer at the company anymore. But the majority of the list, like 80% are going to be interested but just not ready yet. They're not going to reply to your email until you give them a message that's compelling enough that resonates with them and ultimately gets them want to take action and at the right time. And so that's what we're recommending is, ideally, every 3 months you're emailing your entire total addressable market. If budget constraints limit your infrastructure costs or your data costs, at least annually, or take a smaller segment, even better, take a smaller segment of the market and email them every quarter. Maybe it's one industry or one persona or a combination of those two things. So the waterfall method goes like this. We start by emailing at the top, so C-suite and VPs, as well as, this is where we're kind of going for permission and delegation. And then the collaboration layer is where we have directors and managers, balancing that strategic oversight with operational knowledge. And then the third layer is individual contributors, which if at all else we can't get a hold of anybody at the account, we're not getting any replies, like maybe we need to go low to get insight. And obviously each one of these groups, we're going to change the messaging, right? So for individual contributors, the biggest problem you might get is that they're responding saying that, I don't have decision-making authority. So we don't want to be asking them questions that will make them think that you're trying to sell them something. You just want to be asking about them, asking about their role, their company, how their business or process works, so that you can identify if they are a fit based on your solution. And then that information you can take to directors and managers and to leadership to give them insight that will make them compelled to want to meet with you. And so we have different messaging strategies that we're going to be implementing. So the rule of 1,000, you're going to want to send at least 1,000 emails to using each email variant that you're using, because each variant is going to have a little bit different spin, right? Each email that you create should be a different theme, different pain point, a different opportunity, a different offer or solution that you're focusing on, so that you can identify which one of those flavors of messaging is working best. And then we also want the copy to be super short, so 70 to 80 words at the max. And we want to infer knowledge about their business. And so there's a few different ways that you can test this. We've got the proprietary offer, which is like a done-for-you outcome that removes risk. This is kind of like your Alex Hormozy style high-value offer, with a guarantee that is so compelling that you'd feel stupid saying no. We've also got just something really short and punchy where you can test your different offers. Like, hey, are you experiencing this problem, or are you using this tool, or capitalizing in this opportunity? If so, we can help by X, Y, Z. Is that worth a chat? And so something as simple as that can help you test different offers before you actually develop an entire email and start introducing new variables. And then bucket C is where we have inferred personalization. Saw you're running tech stack, saw you're using Apollo, saw you're using X, Y, and Z. Usually that means this specific problem or bottleneck. We fix that by X, Y, Z. And so we send 1,000 sends, we kill the underperformers, we refresh with new variants. Perhaps some of the messaging performed better than the others. We might understand like what opportunity is more interesting to them. So we could double down on that message and expand and create different subject line variations, different offer variations. So it's ruthless performance management. We're failing forward into our campaign success. We're not just hitting home runs out of the gate. So we're verifying the rotation schedule. We're daily doing a spam block audit. We are doing deliverability testing by doing inbox placement testing every 2 weeks. I know Apollo and their team told me they have this on the roadmap, but there certainly are other tools out there that can help you run an inbox placement test to see where your emails are getting delivered to Google Workspace, Microsoft 365, and SMTP. And then we want a performance refresh every month or quarter at the very least. But the most important thing is when you do get email reply or any type of lead, you want to get to that lead within 5 minutes. That's the magic moment. You're going to be 100% more likely to get an appointment if you can do that. So if nothing else, making sure you're getting to leads very quickly. This comes to website opt-ins, email replies. You want lead response time to be within minutes, not hours or days. This is a thing that's killing most people because they're spending a lot of money on their marketing and sales efforts, but they're not getting to the leads quickly enough when they come in. So, all right, the fortress is built. Now what, right? Your emails are landing, but you're sending them to the right people, right? Are we sending them to, people that are going to be in our market, showing interest? The trap here is that most reps are just blasting generic lists and burning their domains within 30 days. And the risk is without signals, we're actually just making a bunch of noise. So what we're going to be talking about coming up in just a second is in session 2, sequence design and signal-based AI that's going to start in about 5 minutes. And so we'll talk about multi-wave intelligence, how to build AI agents, and ultimately stop guessing who to target, how to know. And so one of the things we're actually launching today is called the Apollo Lab on School. This is a free community that you can join right now by scanning this QR code with your phone. And you're going to get a few of the promised resources in this community, the 2026 Outbound Playbook, the AI cold email copywriter that goes over all of those strategies that we talked about earlier and writes your copy for you. And you also are going to get access to this community where you're connecting to other Apollo users and top sales leaders who are sharing wins, losses, and real-time market changes. So while we are waiting just a few minutes before the next session, we'll open it up for Q&A or any other input that you guys had, Michael, Jason.
Yeah, just quick technical detail, Mark. Are you able to open it up to where we can enter the chat, Jason and I? It's looking like we're restricted just to talk to ourselves.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I can see the chat here on the right. I can also see the Q&A if you want me to pull that up as well.
Yeah, we've got the Q&A. It's just the standard webinar chat. We're just stuck talking to
Uh,
To each other, yeah.
yeah, well, I see you guys talking in there to the whole group. It says hosts and panelists and everyone. Those are the options there. Um, was there something else, Michael, that you had a question on?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if everybody can see Jason and I's answers. We're active in the Q&A.
I can see him. Yeah.
Well, I think you would because you're host and panelist. I think it's just to us,
Yeah.
restricted just to us.
Hmm.
But yes, a recording will be made available. Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, if there's any questions about email deliverability, calculating your TAM, on writing cold email copy, let's talk about that. We're opening the Q&A for any questions that come in. And looks like Michael and Jason
Yeah,
are on the chat.
yeah. And McLean saw your question on the UI, showing that it's pretty overwhelming and confusing. I know kind of one of the pitfalls when it's end to end and you can do nearly everything. There's a lot of places to get lost. But we just got off of our RKO meeting from last week, and that was a big priority for product is to make that definitely more user friendly and a little bit tougher to get lost in what you're looking to do. But appreciate the question.
We've also launched an AI agent in the AI assistant that will help you build out those dashboards.
Hmm.
So it's removed a lot of that pain of, which stat do I add? As long as you've got your content center filled out, it'll build you a solid based foundation dashboard that you can then add to. And we've made that AI friendly and easy to adjust.
Yeah. And I'll jump in on Paul's question. I know you gave an answer there, Jason, but there's always confusion on links in emails. There's perhaps one in content, then how many in signature. My preference is at bare minimum, the first email should never have any links.
Yeah.
Not in the content, not in your signature, not even an unsubscribed link. You can ask them, tell them to just reply no if they don't want to hear from you again. Because let's be honest, most people are not going to click a link in an email, even if it says unsubscribe, because their IT department is giving them cybersecurity training on a quarterly basis at the bare minimum, telling them not to click on emails from strangers. don't take candy from strangers, don't click on links and emails from strangers, stranger danger. So yeah, I've always been of the mind that sending and then after that though, once you're getting into the inbox, once you train your prospects inbox to accept your email because it has a healthy reputation and there's no links in there and you have your authentication and the email is written in a way that's not spammy, then after like the second, maybe the third email, over time you can start adding those links in there. But usually the best bet is just to tell them describe what you want to send them, and then ask them if they want you to send the link. Many of you saw me do that for this actual summit. I didn't send the link in my email to you until the third one. I just asked if you wanted to get the link to register for the event, and then you replied yes. And so I might not have gotten as good of deliverability if I included that link. All right, so that's it for the first session on deliverability. Let's jump into number 2. Now we'll be talking about sequence design and signal-based AI.